Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is the living universe. There's a growing science-based look at the universe as one grand entity that is alive in consciousness. And it's such a fascinating perspective and maybe obvious to so many of you, maybe not, maybe outrageous and ridiculous to some of you, but it's a wonderful thing to be looking at. And even more than the notion itself might be the implications for our beingness in a context of a greater organism. So anyway, it should be a really interesting conversation. Good morning, Rosalind. Welcome, and welcome to everybody else who's joining us for what hopes to be or looks to be the potential for a really engaging conversation. So before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. Let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light, lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, all your molecules, all your electrons, and creating this brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together, vigorously rub your hands together. Feel the pressure, the friction, the motion, the temperature, and the tickling and tingling when you stop, and allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. Welcome. It's Friday. Again, it keeps on happening. I guess that's a good thing, right? It just seems to happen faster and faster. Anyway, last night on movie night for Sustainability Now, we showed a presentation by Dr. Rupert Sheldrake called A Conscious Universe ? And it was, he's such a knowledgeable, deeply educated, eloquent man. And it was so packed, full of ideas, just so rich. And he was talking, I have notes from last night, so I may be able to recreate some of the magic of it. But what he was talking about is this emergence of a philosophy, and also moving into neurophysiology of panpsychism, and what, as opposed to mechanistic materialism that comes from Descartes, where the universe is looked at like a machine that was set in motion at one time, and it has no consciousness, and it's just machinery that's moving. And good afternoon, good morning to you, or good evening and good morning to you, Gia. Welcome. It's great to have you here with us. So we're talking about a living universe. And so this notion of the mechanistic, materialistic universe where everything is machined and can be broken down into its component parts. And that's how we understand the world. Like by looking at the organs of the body. The thing is that when you take the organs of the body out of the body, we lose whatever it is that's actually animating the body. We can gain a lot of understanding by looking at the parts, but there's something greater than the sum of the parts that happens, excuse me, when there is life and consciousness. And so the conversation was in large part surrounding the question of what is consciousness. And we tend as anthropocentric beings to believe that consciousness resides in our brain, and that we've been conditioned to believe that the universe is mechanistic, and as a result, it's created, as Dr. Sheldrake pointed out very elegantly, it's created three major rifts. It's created a rift between science and religion or spirituality, not that those two are the same. It's created a rift between body and mind, and it's created a rift between humans and nature. And it also doesn't account for consciousness. And so what he was exploring, and again, I really recommend it. You can find the talk on YouTube. If somebody is able to find it and post the link, that would be awesome. I haven't had much good luck posting links through this interface. It's called A Conscious Universe, and the talk is by Dr. Rupert Sheldrake. Anyway, it's challenging. I mean, it's intellectually challenging to be listening because he's talking about all these different philosophers and scientists and complex concepts or unfamiliar concepts. He was talking about life as process rather than as things, and among many things that he was talking about, but talking about molecules and electrons as process, and talking about the nature is, one of the quotes was, nature is the body of God and God is the mind of nature. And I just found that so rich. And another thing that he spoke of was in terms of consciousness and reality, he talked about time. He anchored perception to time, or the universe to time, and it aligns with quantum physics. With quantum physics, everything is possible until a choice is made and then something comes into manifestation. And so based on that, like this field of possibilities, he was equating to the future. And when something is made manifest, that then becomes the past, because the physicalness is the manifestation of the potentiality. And once it's manifest, it's past. So fascinating, so fascinating. And talking about whether the sun and the moon and the stars and the planets are conscious. Good morning, Robin. Welcome. So we're talking about a living universe today, which was inspired by a talk from Dr. Rupert Sheldrake entitled A Conscious Universe. And you can find it on YouTube. And Rosalind says, if the universe is one living being, how can we communicate? One way is through absorbing energy through air, ground, or solar prana. Exactly, Rosalind. So it's a beautiful question to say, how can we communicate? Perhaps we are communicating all the time. One of the ways that he described the expression of all the different manifestations that we are, that every other creature, every other entity is like the reflections of the moon in multiple buckets of water. You know, you could have hundreds, thousands, millions of buckets of water, and the moon would be reflected in them to varying different degrees. It's all the same moon, but it's only one bucket. I mean, it's all the same moon, but the appearance in all the different buckets is different, even by the slightest degree. So when we think of, and another way of expressing that is that every monad, meaning every individualized entity, is mirroring the world from their own point of view. So that's, each of us is our own bucket mirroring the moon. So just really, really, really interesting. And we talk about being connected and us, all of us being one. And this concept of a conscious universe that is one entity is the purest description of our oneness that I have yet encountered. You know, where we are all part of an organism. So where we are part of, like, almost like we are cells in an organism, like we are molecules in a structure, and that there is consciousness. One of the ways that he defined consciousness, let me just see. Conscious minds are concerned with making possibilities physical. And wait, there's more. I have to find my notes. Self-organizing systems put together by intelligent design for their own purposes, their own aims or goals. So, for instance, electrons and molecules have their own orbits and their own ways of interacting electrically or electromagnetically with their surroundings. And so they're blending with other things or separating from other things based on some kind of process that has an intentionality behind it. That's not the same kind of intentionality that we would understand for things that are not human. I mean, they're not necessarily strategizing about how to go about things, but who knows? So one of the deep questions that he was asking was, is the sun conscious? And then he talked about all the electromagnetic activity. That's one of the ways that we define consciousness in our brains, is there's electromagnetic activity, right? And electrical circuits, neurocircuits, etc. And the sun goes through cycles. He said it goes through 11-year solar cycles or solar flare cycles, and it's pulsing and it's ejecting different some material periodically, and fields of energy. And so what if all these levels of conscious awareness, or maybe, I don't know if consciousness and awareness are two separate things. This is a hairy thing to talk about because we don't really have the language for it. But what if all these different levels of being, from a, a elect electron or molecular level, to a cellular level, to an organ level, to a body level, to, and beyond, beyond, beyond. What if all of these are component parts of one big living form, one big living expression, with all these component consciousnesses being part of it, and seeing these deep, deep, deep interwoven connections. Good morning, Bernadette. Welcome. It's great to have you here with us this morning. We're talking about a conscious universe and what would be the implications for us in our lives if we recognized that we are indeed a part of one big breathing, living, evolving organism in the whole universe. That it's not just us, it's not just you and me as separate beings, it's not just the earth, and it's not just the earth and the moon and the stars, but the entire universe, all the galaxies, everything that's in existence. What if it's all part of one great consciousness, which aligns with what so many of us experience when we think about the notion of God, that God is not somebody sitting somewhere up in heaven or on a throne, or or orchestrating all the events of our individual lives necessarily, but perhaps this overall consciousness that is life and creation, that is ongoingly creating and generating and emerging and evolving with everything and anything else that's part of it. So Bernadette says, absolutely, we are all energy and all magnetic to everything that is made up of particles. And so I love that you said that, Bernadette, and it's bold, because when we start thinking about particles, the more we dig into the particles, the less particulates there are. In other words, the less matter there is, and the more energy and process there is. So there's no there from what we understand, that it is all energy. And the more we try to measure it, the more elusive it becomes, because we keep getting deeper and deeper and deeper. And maybe what the seed of all of it is, on the microcosm and the macrocosm, is this, for lack of better description, this divine spark of consciousness. And so it was interesting in this talk to hear the notion that it may be that electrical or electromagnetic energy that is itself consciousness, or that is consciousness itself. Bernadette says the Big Bang of life, unity. Yes, exactly. That there is this energy that is underlying all of it. Rosalind says, one as opposed to many. Yes, I've been wondering what is oneness, like when people say, make me one with everything, curious what that is. Well, what if we are? What if we are one with everything and we are each our own little moon buckets, reflecting the uniqueness that we bring in this endlessly diverse universe. It's just such a rich understanding, and actually it's very much aligned with indigenous wisdom. It's only and apparently up until I think the 17th century, let me see if I even wrote it down. I'm not sure, but it was a common understanding that everything was alive, so how many look at traditional cultures that revere the sun as and the moon and the stars as gods, as energies, as beings, as something that has consciousness. And it's only with Descartes' mechanistic materialism that we became separate from the world that we are an intrinsic part of. We are corpuscles, perhaps, in this universe, or maybe we are the on the scale of the universe. Maybe we are the electrons, or even smaller units. Who knows? But when we think of that, when we think of being part of this thing that is alive, that is living, that we are in the body of the universe, that we are part of the body of the universe, it becomes so vast and so mind-boggling that I think it forces us into a different space of beingness, to be entertaining that as a real potential, as a real possibility, to be recognizing that there is life and consciousness that is beyond our comprehension. I think one of the impacts, or one of the implications of that kind of awareness, is a deepened humility about our intelligence. Humans have been so unboundedly arrogant in the way that we have interacted with the earth and with life and with other life forms. One of the things that Dr. Sheldrake pointed out was that it's this notion of mechanistic materialism that has allowed us to treat animals, for instance, as objects that don't have consciousness. Excuse me. And has allowed us to justify things like factory farming and even big agriculture, for instance, or creating all these chemicals with which we're trying to control nature rather than finding alignment with it. And so if we can recognize that we are part of it and it is part of us inextricably, that when we are doing damage to nature, we are damaging our being. When we deny the consciousness of nature, we dismiss its intelligence to solve all kinds of brilliant to come to all kinds of brilliant processes and solutions for how to make things work. We as humans have been lost in our arrogance. So Bernadette says, we are all like a woven piece of an anatomy that are only the size of one cell. And when we all are connected with different jobs, emotions, and things to do, we're able to work as one. I love it. Exactly, Bernadette. Like in our body, we can use our bodies as a metaphor. Our bodies have all these different organs that are contributing in all these different ways to the working of the body that we are. And what if we have that same role? That on some level it's all fractals. It's all a reflection of everything else. So the microcosm and the macrocosm. And I invite you to just allow yourself to play with that notion, to sink into it, and to feel the difference of being a part of an integrated whole that is more vast than we have the capacity to conceive. And from that space of humility and wonder, hopefully, we can gain a different perspective and perhaps find a greater alignment with this larger being, that we can, to what you were saying, Rosalind, that we can communicate more effectively with it, that we can allow ourselves to receive communications more effectively, and that we can find more grace in our dance with it. So that's it for today. Happy Friday to you. And I truly do invite you to entertain this and to notice, as you entertain the notion of the universe as one grand organism, to see how that impacts your sense of being. Oh, Dido, so glad to have you here with us this morning. Welcome. So Bernadette says, from me to all of you, I wish you the best of what your day presents to you. Enjoy your weekend. Yes, everybody, enjoy your weekend. I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection. And I go live here each weekday morning on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel at 9 a.m. Eastern. And I invite you to check out the other wonderful programming on Enlightened World Network and Enlightened World Living. And until next time, so much love to you.